Looking out, looking out, looking out the window. I just wanna go outside, side, side, side. Staring at the window. I'm about to lose my mind, 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 mind. Feels like oh, 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 oh,
Looking out the window, thinking about my kinfolk. Thinking how they been broke, thinking how they sin though. They don't wanna believe that they chosen people. Trying to teach them good, but they steady choosing the evil. I've been steady looking out the window of my mind, discerning how the Most High been speeding up the time. They won't listen to scripture, so I put it in my rhymes. Worldly wisdom worth penny, scripture spitting out them dimes. But when your mind can't grasp your real worth, you choose what's bad for you until we'll understand its birth. The earth still giving into the hand of the wicked. My people under curses, they stay spiritually stricken till you repenting. I'm stashing tokens in heaven. You catch my drift. Not talking about 50 cent, man. Not talking about 50 cents. But that goes right over your head, boy. I'm
looking out the window. I just wanna go outside, side, side, side. Staring at the window. I'm about to lose my mind, 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 mind. Feels like oh, 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 oh,
They say that eyes are windows into the soul. A soul locked in the body, my eyes are window holes. But not one thing I see is something that can make me whole. It's all about the spirit, the hardest thing to control. But now I learned to check mine through the word. I learned that I was evil cause my spirit was disturbed. Wicked like cancer, through them spirits were transferred. Hang with piece of shit and you start smelling like a turd. That's something that most of you people do not get. The ones you think you love will lead you right into that pit. Unequally yoked, but you will not admit. Are you really for Yahweh or are you really counterfeit? Said are you really for Yahweh or are you really counterfeit? Only the man inside the window can truly answer this. Whatever your answer is to the Most High, submit. To the Most High you must submit. Wow.
Looking out the window. I just wanna go outside, side, side, side. Staring at the window. I'm about to lose my mind, 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 mind. Feels like oh, 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 oh,
Shalom, shalom, Yasharala. So since I always make y'all wait, I figured I'd put some music on while y'all were waiting. Shalom, Danya Allah, DC 97, Shalom, Zion 12, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai Barakatah. So I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, whose name is Yahweh, and I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, which the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? So today we're going to go over a really important lesson that a lot of brothers and sisters have been hitting me up, asking me about. So through the Spirit, I knew we had to go ahead and do this one, even though I already have a lot of a lot of other requests and lessons planned, right? But so yeah, we're gonna go over this lesson is gonna be titled Temptations and How to Deal with Them. All right, so dealing with temptations. Okay, so before we talk about we're gonna talk about a few different ways to deal with temptation, right? And let me tell y'all that it's not just fight temptation, right? Fight it off, right? Fight it through the Spirit. Like I hear many brothers saying and teaching, right? Which I mean, it is true, but it's only when it comes to that point that you have to do that, right? That's the last resort, the last option that you want to take, right? But before we look at those ways of dealing with temptation, let's make it clear as to why we are being tempted in the first place, right? So we're going to start. Let me share my screen. We're going to start in Daniel 10 and 12. Let me share my screen real quick. I'm going to start in Daniel 10 and 12. So lucky I didn't have this ready. I was dealing with my children right now. I had to go to the room. I'm going to start in Daniel 10 and 12 and 10. Salakia 12 and 10. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. Right? So many people are being purified in these last days, right? Which all praises to the Most High, because I know a lot of brothers and sisters are getting baptized right now, and that's a beautiful thing, right? If you look into Hebrews Hebrews chapter 6 and the first couple verses, it says that is part of the foundation, right? That's part of the foundation is baptism. So that's a beautiful way to start getting purified through the Spirit, right? But it says many shall be purified and made white. What does made white mean? It means made clean in the eyes of the Most High, right? But how are they being purified, right? And tried through trials, right? This is how we get purified. Of course, through the baptism for remission of sins, like it says in Acts 2 and 38. That's the beginning, though, right? We have to keep being cleansed through the word on a daily basis, right? So many shall be purified and made white and tried. We are being made white through these trials, right? So let's go to Sirach, the second chapter, real quick. I'm going to read 2 through 5, or 1 through 5, Salakia. Sirach 1 through 5. It says, my son, if thou come to serve Yahweh, prepare thy soul for temptation, right? So you have to know if you are coming to serve the Most High, okay, you have to prepare yourself for temptation, all right? Now, we're going to go over a couple ways that you can prepare yourself for temptation, right? We're going to go over that in just a minute. But we're just clarifying and making sure everybody is aware of the fact that, or as to why we have to be tempted in the first place, right? So prepare thy soul for temptation. The next verse. Set thy heart aright. So set your mind, get your mind right, right? Like they say in the world. And constantly endure, right? You're going to have to endure through some things, right? Just like Yahushua had to endure through a lot of things. We are not better than our Messiah, right? So we're going to have to endure through these things as well. Some of these things. And make not haste in time of trouble. Don't be so quick to just, I just want to get over this, just want to get past this, right? Verse 3. Cleave unto him, right? What does cleave to him mean? It means hold tight, right? Hold fast. Hold on to this word, right? Because it is the word of the Most High, right? Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end, right? So a lot of people, they don't cleave to the Most High when they go through temptations. All right, they get tempted and they start cleaving on to these sins. They start cleaving on to these people that are causing them to sin, right? They start cleaving on to all these different lusts of the world, right? And depart not away. and then they depart away from him. That's not what we're supposed to do. We got to cleave to him and don't depart away from this word, right? That thou mayest be increased at thy last end, so that you can make it to the kingdom, right? Verse 4, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, right? How are we going to take it? How are we going to take that cheerfully? Why would it say we have to take it cheerfully? Does anybody know that? Let's go to James real quick. So when we're tempted, we're actually supposed to take that cheerfully, right? Let me explain why real quick. This is James 1:12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, right? Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, or woman, right? So blessings will actually come to you if you just endure the temptation, but instead you want to give in, right? You give in and then you get cursed, and then you want to blame it on the Most High, and you say, why are you doing this to me, right? But in reality, it was your fault. He gave you the opportunity to be blessed by enduring that temptation, right? That's the whole, you either look at the cup halfway full or halfway empty, right? You're in that middle point. You're getting tempted, right? It can either increase you and bless you because you endure through it, or you're going to be cursed, right? You're going to be lessened by it because you didn't, when you were tried, you didn't endure that temptation, right? So blessed is the man that endured temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life. If you endure these temptations constantly, guess what? The Most High is going to give you that crown of life in the end, which the Most High have promised to them that love him, right? So now let's go back to Sirach, the 2nd chapter. So it says, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, right? If you're in the spirit and you know what, I can endure this. You know you're going to get blessings from that. So you'll take it cheerfully, right? And be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. All right. Psalm 65. I'll just get it real quick. Psalm 65:5. This was one of my favorite verses when I was first coming into the truth. It says, by terrible things in righteousness will thou answer us, O Yahweh of our salvation. Right? Sometimes the Most High has to make terrible things happen, things that you think are terrible, terrible temptations, terrible trials. You're losing people you thought you loved, you thought you would be around all the time. You got to give up certain things and you see it as a terrible thing, right? But guess what? He's doing these terrible things in righteousness, right? It's going to lead to your righteousness, right? It's like when King David, had his top captain killed, and just so he could get with his wife, right? And then what happened to him because of it? His son got killed. David's son, the Most High took away his son, right? That's a terrible thing. I know David was in pain from that. He saw that as a terrible thing. But guess what? It was the Most High did that in righteousness, because after that, David turned back to the Most High and repented, and his next son was King Solomon, right? Which was the wisest man to ever walk the earth besides Yahushua, right? So let's go back to Sirach. And be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. The Most High put you in a low estate. It's either so that you could turn back to him, or so that it wasn't meant for you, right? And you're going to walk out of this truth. So let's get to verse 5. This is what I wanted to get to. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity, right? So we have to be tried. We have to be tempted, right? So that we can become acceptable in the eyes of the Most High, right? And there's no way of getting around that, right? There's no way of just moving around that, and we don't get tempted and we don't get tried, right? So now that we know why we have to get tempted, what do y'all think? Let me see. It's showing that there's 10 people in here. What do y'all think is the easiest way that we can Salaki, let me fix this camera real quick. What do y'all think is the easiest way that we can deal with temptation? Anybody? What do y'all think is one of the easiest ways that we can fight off temptation? That a lot of people honestly don't really think about. They just think, all right, when temptation arises, I'm gonna fight against it. right? I'm gonna fight against temptation. You know what it's saying? I got a weak connection. I'm gonna go ahead and Danya Allah, if you could pull up Matthew 26 and 41. Matthew 26 and 41, Baba Kashaw. I'm gonna go ahead and unshare the screen because if you go pull up Matthew 26 and 41, and then if you could get Matthew the 6th chapter, verses 10 through 13. So while he does that, let me look at the comments. Jay Salazar, very timely live right now. All praise to the Most High, y'all. It's funny that you say that because a lot of people were actually saying that. They were saying, you know, I really need this right now. The Most High has perfect timing, things of that nature, right? So let me see. I don't know if the comments are coming in late because I have a slow connection. Let me try and open it up one more time. Okay, I got it. Never mind. So this is Matthew 26 and 41. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Right? So watch and pray. So the first thing it says is to watch, right? You got to watch to see all these different temptations. What situations are putting you in temptation? What people are leading you into temptation, right? It says watch and pray. So the second thing it says is to pray. So how many of y'all honestly pray every day consistently that you enter not into temptation, right? How many of y'all actually pray every single day that you won't fall into temptation, that you won't be tempted, right? If you this is the Adawan Palal, or what people call the Lord's Prayer, right? This is Yahushua saying this. He's saying, oh, Salakia, this right here. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Okay, Salakia, I think it starts on verse 9, actually. If you could pull that up real quick. So we're going to read the prayer that Yahushua, said that we should pray, right? And he said, pray in this manner. So like this doesn't mean you repeat it. Like when I was in the Catholic Church growing up, it would be like, all right, say this prayer 10 times, say the Hail Mary, right, which is nowhere in the Bible. Say that 20 times, right? So this is how you would pray. It says, watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. So how we need to pray is in this manner. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. This is Matthew 6 and 9, right? It says, in this manner, therefore, pray ye. So this is a way that you can pray. This is a template or a guideline, so to speak, of how you can pray, right? Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, right? So hallowed means like holy. So when you say call halal Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai, you are giving call means all, halal means hail or praise, right? So when you start your prayer off like that, you're starting your prayer off just like Yahweh Shai said to, right? Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That's saying like holy is your name, right? When you're giving all praises and all honor and all glory to Yahweh, that's what you're basically saying. You are hallowing his name. Verse 10, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So this is another thing that you should pray for, right? That his will be done. When me and my rib pray together or even separately, that's something that I know we both always pray for. Like we'll ask for a certain thing and then we say, if it's your will, right? Like Yahushua, when he was praying, he said, nevertheless, let your will be done, right? Verse 11, give us this day our daily bread. So what is our daily bread? It's the word, right? It's the scriptures. It's the spirit, walking in the spirit. Verse 12, and forgive us our debts as we forget our debtors. This, it's supposed to say trespasses, right? Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sinned against us. So now this is the point I wanted to get to, verse 13. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, right? So in Matthew, the 26th chapter, when it says, pray that you enter not into temptation, this is what we really need to be doing. Before you even fall into temptation, you should have been praying since you woke up in the morning, or since you went to sleep at night, praying all the time, right? That you are not given into temptation, that the Most High delivers you from evil, right? I'm going to read it one more time. Matthew 6 and 13. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. So it's saying his is the kingdom, right? And the power. He has power over everything. So when you are asking to not be led into temptation, if you are following the Most High's word, he is going to help you out with that, right? And answer your prayers to his own will. So now, like we went over already first in Daniel 12 and 10, and in Sirach, the 2nd chapter, we are going to have to go through some things, right? But we still need to pray that we are not falling into temptation. So I'm going to read this Matthew 26 and 41 one more time. So it says, watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation, right? So every day, every time you pray, you should ask that you are not entering into temptation, right? The spirit indeed is willing. So our spirit wants to do it, right? Our spirit, we know the laws for the most part. If you've been in the truth for a while, you know what you're supposed to do and you know what you're not supposed to do. You know when you're not supposed to do something and you're falling into it, right? So the spirit is indeed is willing. We want to follow the Most High deep down inside, right? It's like that little on movies and on TV shows and stuff. They have like the little devil on one side and the angel on the other side. It's like a battle of your conscience, right? You want to do it. You want to do the Most High's will, but then when you fall into that temptation and you're in the moment and you're like, man, I really want to do this, but I'm not supposed to. But I want to, but I'm not supposed to, right? The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak, right? Our flesh is very weak. So that's why we're supposed to pray that we don't fall into temptation in the first place, right? Which brings us to our next point, all right? So what's another way besides praying that we can, how would I say, I guess, fight off temptation or deal with temptation? Another way would be, maybe some of y'all have heard of this, maybe some of y'all haven't, right? But there's such a thing called the fight or flight response, right? So the fight or flight response is basically when you come across a person. So this is talking more physically, but it also works or can work in the flesh, right? Or in the spirit, Salakia. The fight or flight response is where you're going to get into a fight, right? You're faced with some type of confrontation. Somebody wants to fight you physically, right? They want to fight you. And everybody goes into this mode where they have a fight or flight response. Okay. Now this means in your head, as soon as someone wants to fight you, in your head, you are going to go into the mode of, all right, I'm going to fight this person, right? Or you go into the response of, okay, I'm going to run from this. I do not want to fight. People start backing up, or they literally run, or they try and talk it off, right? Or there's people that just, all right, let's do this. I'm going to fight, right? So that happens in the spirit as well, right? That definitely happens in the spirit, because there's people that are going to confront you or entice you. As a matter of fact, Danya Allah, if you could get Proverbs 1 and 10, I believe. I believe it's 1 and 10. Sinners or people that are, the majority of times when you are falling into temptation, it is caused by somebody else. All right. Sometimes, yes, it is in your own head, and I want to do this, whether it be I'm gonna buy some weed, no one will know about it, or whether it be I don't know, I'm gonna watch porn, right? Nobody, no, I'm by myself, I'm gonna see it. But most of the time, it's like, hey, yo, bro, you want to smoke weed? Or it'll be a chick trying to get you to get with her, things of that nature, right? And you go into that spiritual fight or flight response. You're either going to just do it instead of fight it, you're just gonna give into it, right? Or you're gonna go into that flight response. I don't want to have nothing to do with this. You know what? I need to get away, right? So this is Proverbs 1:10. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Right? That is a simple piece of advice, right? If sinners entice you, consent not. Right? That seems so simple. Just don't consent to it. Right? What is a consent? Like say you sign a form for somebody, they say, okay, we're going to take pictures of you. Do you consent to this? Yes, I consent, right? So when sinners entice you, consent not, right? Entice means to attract or to tempt. I'm looking at the definition right now. It says entice is to attract or to tempt by offering pleasure or advantage, right? Entice means to attract you or to tempt you by offering pleasure or advantage, right? So going with the most common thing I get asked about when it comes to brothers, it's either the top three things, and I don't know if there's any sisters on here, but I'm just gonna go with these examples real quick because it seems to be the most common thing, right? Number one would be getting with females, right? Getting with females and not seeing it as marriage, right? Number two would probably be weed, smoking weed. And number three would be porn, right? So when you think about these three, out of these three, I mean, two of them, the weed and getting and fornicating, right? Whether you be a brother or sister, these two, you can literally just not consent to them, right? You say, no, I don't want to smoke, right? Or no, I can't do that. I can't have sex with you because the Bible says it's marriage, and that's it, right? But in reality, when you're in that situation already, when you've put yourself in that situation, right? The majority of the time, like it said in Matthew 26:41. Let me pull it up one more time. Matthew 26:41. The flesh is weak, man. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak, right? In reality, most of the time, you're not going to say that. You're not going to say, when that girl comes up and she wants you to take her home, or she wants you to come over, or that dude is enticing you, or they're like, here, just hit this weed. In reality, most of the time your flesh is going to be too weak, right? And I can say that from a humble standpoint, because even when I was first coming into the truth, I mean, there was certain little things like that where I realized, look, when I'm putting myself in the situation to be enticed, to be tempted, it's hard. And I know a lot of y'all can attest to this. I know a lot of y'all will agree with me on that. It's hard when you're already in the situation, right? And it's funny because, like I was talking about the fight or flight response, a couple of the how would you say, the signs, I guess, that you are going into that fight or flight response is rapid heartbeat, right? You're trembling, right? You're kind of even shaking and stuff. And I remember certain times when it would be smoking weed, or I'd be tempted with certain things, and I would feel that way. I would like, man, my heart's going off. You know what I mean? And that's just that those spirits trying to get you to fall into that temptation, right? So if you could give me Sirach 21:2, Sirach 21:2, right? So think about it this way. You have a couple choices when you're confronted with sinning, right? When you are enticed, you basically have two options when you're enticed, at that point of being enticed, right? You're either going to consent to them, or you're not going to consent to them, right? Which, like I said, the flesh is weak. More often than not, if you're not strong in the spirit, you're gonna consent to them, right? So you have to understand that the spirits on people that are trying to get you to fall are ancient, man. They're ancient, right? They've been around many years, centuries, decades, right? So my advice, my best advice that I could give you would be to follow this. This Sirach 21:2. Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent, right? Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent. So not only just don't consent to it, you have to run away from that, right? And this can be either in the situation when you're confronted, when you are, like it says here, when you're being enticed. If sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If you're in the moment and these sinners are trying to entice you, trying to tempt you with pleasure or advantage, right? Consent not to it. Don't just not consent to it. You got to flee from that, right? Flee from it as from the face of a serpent. But also afterwards, you have to continue to flee from that person or that situation, right? You have to stay away from that person. You have to stay away from that situation, right? So I'm gonna read it again. Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent. For if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men. Right? So flee from sin as from the face of a serpent. And I've used this example many times, but think about it like this. If you brothers or sisters, right? Most of y'all are probably at your house right now watching this. If a big ass snake just popped up from under your bed, from under your couch, whatever it is right now, right? If a big snake just popped out, what would you do? Right? Let me see how many. It says 13 people on here right now. I guarantee you maybe 12 out of you 13 would run away from it, right? There might be one of you brothers that would hit it with your shoe or try and stomp it or try something, right? Maybe you got a knife or a sword or something on you and you'd go after it. But the majority of you would flee from that serpent, right? For if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. Okay, the teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men, right? So if you don't flee from a serpent, you should already know that it's going to bite you, right? And what is the serpent in this context? It is sin, right? It's the sin. But if you could pull up first Peter 5:8, First Peter 5:8. Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent. See, most of y'all don't realize that sin it's Satan when people are tempting you, right? Satan is using people to work to go against you, right? Satan is using these people to get you to sin. And if you're not going to flee from them, if you're not willing to flee from these people, then you are just inviting Satan into your life, right? It's like that live that I did on courting and friends and trying the spirits and etc. If y'all haven't seen that, this goes hand in hand with this, man. It says, be not equally yoked. It says, separate yourself from your enemies and take heed of your friends. Right? It says the people you hang out with, you're going to start being like them. All of this is in the word, right? So a lot of times fleeing from sin as from the face of a serpent is realizing that the serpent, Satan, right? He is the one that is working through these people. And you have to flee from these people in order to flee from sin. For if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. But if you want to still be around these people that are causing you to sin, if you still want to be around this sin, right, then it's going to bite you, man. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men, right? Slaying the souls of men. You keep playing with sin, and it's like a serpent. It's going to bite you. The teeth of a lion, right? Let me get Oh, let me see if it's, I don't know if my comments are coming in late, but I don't got the comment yet. Let me pull it up on mine. 1 Peter 5 and 8. So this is 1 Peter 5 and 8. It says, be sober, be vigilant, right? Always watching, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, right? As a roaring lion. Oh, Khan, the water. It just popped up. So be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking who he may devour, right? Walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. You have to realize that these temptations are not coming from the Most High, right? These temptations are not coming. These temptations are coming from Satan, and that was actually in James, the first chapter, which we just read, verse 1 or verse 12. I'll go back to that right now, but let me make this point real quick. So Sirach 21 and 2, flee from sin as from the face of a serpent, for if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. You know, if you get too close to a snake, it's going to bite you. All right. You know, if you mess around with these certain things, whether it be, I'm going to go through the 3 examples real quick, right? So one of the examples is fornication, right? You don't fornicate by yourself, right? You fornicate with another person. You know, 99.99999 times out of 100, look, if I've been fornicating with this person, or if I go with this chick, or if I go with this dude, I'm going to end up doing something against the Most High, right? You know it. You know you're going to sin. So you have to flee from sin as from the face of a serpent. You need to see that person as the serpent, right? If you don't want to see them as a serpent, then this is what's going to happen. You're going to come too near to them, and they're going to bite you, right? And who is this talking about again? This is talking about Satan, man, right? The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men. Satan wants to slay your soul. He wants your soul, right? And he's going to bite you if you don't flee away from him. So let's go to back to 1 Peter. It says, be sober, be vigilant. What does vigilant mean? It means always keeping watch, right? Because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, just like it said in Sirach, right? Walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. So you need to understand that with the first example that I'm giving, right? You need to understand that Satan is trying to devour you through these temptations, through these sins. So instead of putting yourself in the position to be tempted, you need to flee from temptation, right? You need to flee from temptation before it even gets started. All right. Let me try and share my screen one more time. Most High willing, it'll the connection won't go bad. Y'all let me know if my voice starts chopping up, or if it starts lagging, so I can stop sharing my screen. Let's go back to James, first chapter, real quick, just to make that point. Because the Most High isn't the one that's tempting you, right? So this is James chapter 1. Salakia. I don't know why it always opens up in a new, it's opening everything up in a new tab. Let me try and share it again. So like I was saying, it's not the Most High that's tempting you, right? It's Satan. And that's why you have to flee from all these things and all these people that are tempting you. So this is James chapter 1, and we'll start on 12, just since we already read it. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation. You want to be blessed, endure temptation, right? But like I'm talking about right now, it's better to flee from temptation before you're even tempted with it. For when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Most High hath promised to them that love him. Verse 13, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of the Most High. For the Most High cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. So like we just read in 1 Peter 5 and 8, it's Satan that is tempting us, right? And his spirits. Verse 14, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed, right? A lot of times we want to blame it on whatever we want to blame it on, right? But guess what? It says right here, you're tempted when you're drawn away out of your own lust, right? Sometimes you're like some of the brothers that I won't even say the name of the camp, but when you're going into club environments, right, and you're putting yourself in the position to be tempted with females and with things of that nature, going into hookah bars and drinking and all of that stuff, you are putting yourself in position to be drawn away out of your own lust, right? You're putting yourself in position to be enticed, which is why we have to stay away from those sort of things. Verse 15, then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death, right? So just like it said, going back to Sirach at the bottom of the screen, flee from sin as from the face of a serpent, for if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men. So what did James say? It bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death, right? If you ask any Christian, pretty much any Christian knows, you tell them what the wage of sin is, and what are they going to say? Death, right? If you don't get out of these sins, it's going to lead to your death because you haven't repented. So when James says, when you sin, it's going to bring forth death, who is that death coming from? That the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men, right? Who is that talking about that's doing this? 1 Peter 5:8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So this is all Satan's work, right? We got to make that clear. This is all Satan working through different people, right? Let me pull up 1 Corinthians 6. 1 Corinthians chapter 6. And I believe it's 18. Come. So this is 1 Corinthians 6:18. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. Right? So going back to the example of fornication, right? And this could also be pornography, right? Because Yahushua said, any man that lusteth after a woman in his heart or in his mind has already committed adultery, right? The majority of these women, whether they know it or not, whether actually the all of these women that are in pornography, they're all married according to the Most High, right? Sex is marriage. So you are actually committing adultery by watching all these women, right? And then you're also committing a type of fornication because you're using your body to do these things, right? And you're lusting after women or men if it's a female, right? But then also looking at it as literal fornication, right? Getting with a man or a woman and not seeing it as marriage. It says every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. So you have to flee from fornication, right? And it's like I was talking to a brother that he was saying, I'm really trying to get away from it, but it's just this one girl, she keeps hitting me up and she keeps this and she keeps that. If you really want to flee from that, then you're going to block that chick's number, right? Or that guy's number. You're going to block them on your social media. You're going to stop dealing with them. You're going to not ever hang out with them again, right? That's the real way of fleeing from fornication or fleeing from sin, right? So let's go to Genesis, I believe it's 39. Genesis 39. I'll give you one more example of fleeing, right? I think it's 12. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna read this real quick. How long we been on here? About 45 minutes. I'm gonna go through this story real quick just so we could get the context right. So this is Genesis 39:1. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. So Joseph, right, an Israelite, he got bought. He got taken in, he was in captivity, got bought by Potiphar, right, who was a captain, and he was an Egyptian, right? So they bought Joseph from the Ishmaelites and brought him into Egypt, right? Verse 2. And Yahweh was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. So he's now living in the house of Potiphar, right? But even though Joseph was in captivity, the Most High was still with him, right? He made Joseph to prosper even in captivity, right? So I know there's some brothers. Actually, I was just talking to a brother yesterday about it. A brother that donated towards getting the land that we're getting, and I was talking to him, and he was like, "Man, the Most High really put it on my spirit to help you out because it's a really good idea, and this, that, and the other." And I told him, "Look, man, I'm glad that you say that because there's a lot of brothers that are actually talking and saying that we shouldn't be doing this, that we're in the land of our captivity, we should be suffering, and you're not supposed to be getting together with other brothers and buying land and this, that, and the other." But long story short, the biggest problem that these brothers have with us trying to get the land is that you are not supposed to prosper, which it says right here, in the land of your captivity, right? Which makes no sense to me and to a lot of people, but this is what they're saying, right? But Joseph, he was a prosperous man even in captivity, right? And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. So let's keep going. Verse 3. And his master saw that Yahweh was with him. So his master could see that the Most High was still with him and working with him, right? And that Yahweh made all that he did to prosper in his hand. So everything that Joseph was doing was prospering, even in captivity, right? Keep that in mind. Verse 4. And Joseph found grace in his sight. So now Joseph is finding grace. He's finding, he's making him, the Most High is making him to prosper, right? And he served him. And Joseph was still serving him in the land of his captivity. And he made him overseer over his house, right? So now Potiphar made Joseph the overseer of his house, and all that he had he put into his hand. So everything that Potiphar had, right, he let Joseph take care of it. Verse 5. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. Right? So now this is, and now another thing that a lot of camps and people will say is, yeah, the Most High would never bless any heathen, right? Well, this just said that he blessed the Egyptian's house, but why? For Joseph's sake, right? So that it could prosper and work out in Joseph's favor. And the blessing of Yahweh was upon all that he had in the house and in the field, right? So the Most High blessed everything in their house and in the field for Joseph's sake, right? But it was Potiphar's house. Verse 6. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand. So now Potiphar said, you know what? Everything that I have is in your hands, right? You're going to take care of everything for me. And he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat, right? So Potiphar, he didn't even know anything he had except the bread he ate. In other words, he didn't control. He told Joseph, all right, you're taking care of the fields, you're taking care of the money, you're taking care of the house, all of these things, right? The only thing that Joseph was taking care of, that Potiphar was taking care of, was the bread which he did eat, which, you know, in Hebrew, when it says the bread, it can mean food, right? So he was like, all right, let's have steak today. Let's have this, let's have that, right? Everything else, Joseph was taken care of. He was in control of. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. Verse 7. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. Right? So now Potiphar's wife sees Joseph, and she sees that he's in control of all these things, right? He's the head, he's the real head of this household because he's taking care of everything. And like it says in Genesis 3:16, it says that a woman's desire will be towards her husband, that he will rule over her, right? So Joseph is the one ruling over this house right now. So she was starting to have eyes for Joseph. So she said, lie with me, right? She said, come commit adultery with me, fornicate with me. Verse 8. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. So the first thing he did, like we read in Proverbs 1:10, he consented not, right? He refused to do this. He was like, no, I'm not going to do this, right? He said that to the master's wife. He said, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house. He doesn't even know all the things that I'm controlling right now, right? He's committed all that he had to my hand. Verse 9. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee. So he said, no, I'm not going to sleep with you. He gave me everything in this house. No one's greater than me in this house, right? Because thou art his wife. The only thing that Potiphar kept back was his wife, right? Because it's his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against the Most High, right? See, the problem with a lot of you when you're falling into temptation is you don't think like Joseph. You don't think in the moment of temptation, okay, I'm being tempted. You don't say, how can I do this great wickedness? How can I sin against the Most High, right? You're just thinking, oh man, I could do this. That seems good. Let's do it, right? You're not thinking, how could I sin against the Most High, right? He's showing me all this favor. He's let me come into the truth when the majority of my family and friends they don't believe it, or they haven't even heard of it, right? Or if they have heard of it, they don't even have the spirit that the Most High gave to me, right, to start wanting to follow this thing and try to make it to the kingdom, right? How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against the Most High? Verse 10. And it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, right? So the first thing he did was, I'm not going to consent, right? So let's use this in a worldly example. Let's say a female or a dude tries to get you to smoke weed, or tries to get you to fornicate, or tries to get you to do something that's against the Most High, right? First thing you got to do is don't consent to him, right? Don't consent to it. Then now that you know that spirit, you've tried that spirit in a sense, and you know that's what they want, what are you going to do? It says, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her. He didn't even listen to her, right? He was like, I'm not even going to listen to this. I'm not going to hearken to that, right? This is how a lot of dudes, but especially females, because, as a female, you're going to have a lot of guys, especially now in the days or the age of technology, 20, 30, 50, 100 guys could be in your DMs trying to hit you up every day, right? You need to fall into this type of spirit. Hearken not unto them, right? Not even going to listen to them. Block them, restrict them, do whatever you got to do to not have to deal with that, right? So it says, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her or to be with her. He wasn't trying to even be next to her, right? He was trying to stay away from her. Verse 11. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, right? So he's going in the house to do whatever he's got to do. And it says, and there was none of the men of the house there within. So now it's just him and her, right? It's just them two. And a lot of times this is where brothers and sisters fall into temptation, where they're alone, when they think nobody can see, right, except the people that are there. Verse 12. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. Right? This is the type of spirit that we need to be in. We need to flee from fornication. We need to flee from temptation. Right? We need to, as soon as you see this type of stuff happening, as soon as sinners try to entice you, right? That's what you need to do. You need to get out of the way. You need to get out of there as quickly as possible, right? Instead of contemplating, well, should I do it? Should I not do it? Am I going to fall into it? Am I going to endure it? Just get out of there and you'll take yourself out of the situation, right? I'm going to go back to Sirach on the bottom of the screen. Sirach 21:2. Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent, right? This Potiphar's wife was being a serpent. She was being a damn devil, a demon at this time, right? And Joseph knew this. Why did he know this? Because he was so close to the Most High, right? That's why the Most High was showing him favor, right? Flee from sin as from the face of a serpent, for if thou comest too near it, it will bite thee. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion, slaying the souls of men. So if you don't want your soul to be slayed, right, this is what you got to do. You got to realize that your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour, right? You need to flee from these things. 1 Corinthians 6:18, flee fornication, right? Flee from these things. That's the only way to truly say that you did your best. If you're in the situation, right, that you did your best to get out of that situation, right? And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand. He ran so fast that it tore his garment, right? And fled and got him out. So now, I'm sure there's plenty of you that this has happened to. All of us this has happened to, right? We have all been enticed in some way or another, right? We've been enticed in some way or another by sinners, right? So this is already what? The third way that you can deal with temptation, right? Number one is pray that you don't fall into temptation, right? Which is a very important one. This is pre-temptation, right? Matthew 26:41. Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. All right. So this is before temptation happens. Pray that you don't fall into temptation, right? The second one is when you're already in temptation. If sinners entice thee, consent thou not, right? You need to flee from temptation, right? This is when it's already happening. You're gonna tell them, no, I'm not gonna do that, or you're gonna be like Joseph and not even say nothing, right? Because it said she caught him by the garment and she said, lie with me. And what did he do? He didn't even say, no, I'm not gonna do that. No, I don't want to do that. I'm not gonna lie. He left his garment in her hand and fled and got out, right? He didn't even give her an answer. He took off so fast that she ripped the garment, right? Which, if you go on to read the rest of that chapter, she tried to blame him, and he ended up in jail because of it. Because the master, Potiphar, didn't believe that she was trying to entice him. She made it seem like it was the other way around. But guess what? The Most High still showed him favor, right? The Most High still showed him favor in jail, and he actually became in charge of the jail as well, if you read about that. But the point is, you need to flee from temptation to the best of your ability, right? Flee from fornication. Flee from all the places that you know you're going to be tempted and led into sin, right? So let me look through the comments real quick, and then I'll get to the next point. King Tim, Shalom, brother. Jomar, más vale aquí corrí que aquí puedo. Khan, that's true. Most people aren't going to understand that. Aquí corrió que aquí quedo, right? So that just means it's basically going along perfectly with what we're saying, right? Some people are going to run from it, And some people are just gonna stay in it, right? That's what it's saying. Like, I'm gonna run, corrido, or aquí quedo. Some people will say they tried to get away from that sin, but how are you trying to get away from that sin if you're putting yourself in the same position to be tempted over and over and over, right? You're hanging out with that serpent. You're hanging out with that snake. So of course you're gonna get bit, right? Let me keep going down. Benji S. Shalom, shalom, Mark. Sorry I'm late. No problem, Mark. La Azaya. No sweat. Sunny sunshine. Put L. I don't know what you mean by that. Jay Salazar. Very well said, Ak. Khan, I'll praise the Most High, Ak. Kingdom Minded 144. What's the GoFundMe for the lands? I'm gonna post it back up on my on my what is it called, on my Instagram later. Actually, for those of you who are interested in the land, and sorry not to answer your question, I honestly don't know what it's called, but I'll post it up. If you look at my highlights on my Instagram, you'll be able to find it through there, because I honestly forgot what it's called. But for anybody who wants to know more about the land, Jomar Godoy, okay, Khan, Tawada, he's gonna post it up for you. Kingdom Minded 144. Tomorrow, most high willing, I'm gonna do a quick live on some information, and I'll go through some pictures and stuff on the land, and I'll post up when exactly I'm gonna do it on my Instagram later, or tomorrow actually. So now, before temptation, you gotta flee, right? Think about it this way: they cannot entice you if you flee from it, or flee from them beforehand, right? So like I said, if you haven't seen the live on courting and friends and trying the spirit and all that, I suggest you watch it, because these go hand in hand, right? But it's like back in the days, I was teaching, well, a couple years ago, I would teach jujitsu to little kids, right? And we had to do a bullying seminar one time, and because some kids were falling into bullying and things of that nature, right, at school. So the thing that we taught them was, when you are being confronted with the bully, right, the majority of the time, you know who the bully is. So you try and stay away from that bully, right? Because one of the kids, what had happened was, he was like, yeah, well, every time I go and play with him, he picks on me and this, that, and the other, right? So we told him, first thing is, you know who the bully is the majority of the time, right? Just like you or me, right, know who is leading you into temptation, who is leading you into sin, right? So the first thing we told this child was, you need to stay away from him. Why are you going to keep trying to play with him if he bullies you every time you play with him, right? So the same thing with any brothers or sisters. You know that this person is going to lead you into sin. You know every time you're around them, you're falling into temptation. So you need to stay away from them. That's number one, right? Then the second thing we told this child, and everybody, all the children, right? I think there was like probably around 40 kids there that day, is, according to the law, well, at least here in Texas, right? And we have an officer that used to go there, so he was talking to me about it before. According to the law, right, your child, if somebody is in their face physically confronting them, right, and they feel that they are threatened, they can tell them, look, you're threatening me, right? And if they get in their face again, so we would tell the children, all right, if somebody confronts you, you are going to put your hand out, you're going to step back from the situation, right? Give yourself some space, which is exactly what we need to do if people are leading you into temptation. Take some space, right? And you're going to tell them, look, you are making me fear for myself physically. I think you're going to hurt me. If you come into my space again, I'm going to be forced to defend myself, right? This is what we would tell all the kids that were there. And if they come back into your space, you have the right to defend yourself because you feel physically threatened, right? And then we would show them little takedowns and stuff. We weren't trying to make them hit them in the face or nothing, broken noses and blood and all that. It was a jiu-jitsu, which for those of you who don't know, it's called the gentle art, right? Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So it's chokes and things of that nature. But the point that I'm trying to make is, some of y'all need to see that, or to use discernment, and use spiritual eyes to see like, hey, these people, every time I'm around them, they are leading me into sin, right? Maybe they're not going to physically harm you, but they are definitely spiritually harming you if they are getting into you're putting yourself in the position for this to happen, right? But just for the example's sake, they're coming into your space spiritually, and they are putting you in the position to harm you. So what you need to do, right, is back up from that, and you need to tell them, look, I'm trying to follow the word. I'm trying to do this. It says that I can't be smoking weed, and you're tempting me every time, man. It says that I can't be fornicating, and you're trying to make me fall into that every time, right? So you need to step back from that, right? And you need to defend yourself if they're not going to respect that, right? Meaning you need to separate yourself from them and don't even deal with them anymore unless they're going to come into the word as well, right? Because that's what happens a lot of times, man. And people put themselves in the position the majority of the time, right? It's like, another example is, I'm sure at least a couple of you brothers were either in gangs or gang affiliated, right? I was never personally in a gang, but I would always hang out with these dudes that were a part of a gang. So I was affiliated, they would say, right? So now, if you live in certain parts of a city, that if you go into this part of a city, you're going to see people from a different gang, right? So if you don't want no trouble, then you're not going to go into that part of the city because you have no business over there, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing spiritually, right? If I go hang out with this person, if I go over to this person's house, they're going to be doing this, they're going to be doing that, they're going to try to lead me into this or into that. You're putting yourself into position to be tempted, right? Just like if you were in a gang, you're putting yourself in position to be killed if you go to the wrong side of a town, right? Or in a fight or stabbed or whatever the case may be, right? So before you're even tempted, you need to make sure you're not putting yourself in position to be tempted, right? Because you have to think about it this way. Is Satan going out of his way to tempt you, or are you going out of your way to be tempted by Satan, right? And a lot of times it's the latter and not the former. A lot of times it's not really Satan going out of his way to tempt you. It's you going out of your way to be tempted by putting yourself in position to be tempted, right? So let me try and share my screen one more time. Let me see. And let's go to Ephesians chapter 6. Man, my mouse ain't working. So Ephesians, the 6th chapter, right? We're going to read, I'm sure many of y'all are familiar with this, but putting on the armor of the Most High, right? So I'm going to start on verse 11. So it says, put on the whole armor of Yahweh, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. So now we talked about praying, right? Which is before you even going into sin. We talked about not enticing, which is, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. We talked about not putting yourself in the position to sin by staying away from it completely, right? Now we're going to talk a little bit about actually being in position to, you're being tempted, you're being tried, right? The trial is right in front of you, and what you need to do and what you need to have to go against the wiles of the devil, like it says right here, right? So it says, put on the whole armor of Yahweh, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? So think about this for a second. A lot of times, like I said, when it's people trying to get us into sin, right? It's not really, you have to understand that it's not really that person that we are going against, right? It's not flesh and blood. A person are made of flesh, right? And blood inside of us, just like you, just like everybody. It's not really that person that we are going against, right? But against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, right? Against spiritual wickedness in high places. So you got to realize that the rulers of darkness of this world, and notice it's plural, man. Rulers of darkness, right? Let's go to 2 Corinthians 4:4 real quick. 2 Corinthians 4:4. In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not. Right? Who is the God of this world? Lowercase g. The God of this world is Satan. Right? The God of this world is Satan, and he blinds people's minds. Right? The God of this world, that's Satan. So, Salaki, let me go back. So it says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. If you look into that word God in the Hebrew, you know that it basically means power, right? The most high God, the most high power, right? Against the rulers of darkness of this world. Satan is the God of this world, and he has other people that help him to rule the darkness. That's all those evil spirits, right? So we're not wrestling against your brother, against your sister, against your husband, your wife, your boyfriend or girlfriend, or whoever it is, your cousins, your friends, right? You're actually wrestling with and wrestling against these evil spirits that are on them, right? Verse 13, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of Yahweh, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand, right? So you have to take the whole armor of the Most High, right? So that you can withstand in that evil day when you're being tempted, right? And in these end times, in these last days, and having done all to stand. So let's see what all it's talking about. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. All right. So having your loins girt about with truth. We just went over this a couple of days ago when we went over the study of how a man can be more valuable than gold, right? This is 1 Peter 1:13. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind. What does gird up mean? It means preparing for battle, right? Men would do this to prepare for battle or for work, right? They would gird up, physically they would gird up. When it says gird up the loins of your mind, it means to be prepared for Satan, right? Be prepared to battle against all these spirits. Be prepared to wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? But against all these evil spirits. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Hamashiach Yahushai, right? So we are preparing and by girding up the loins of our minds, being prepared for this spiritual battle, right? So stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth. So how do you prepare for this battle in your mind, right? With the truth. What is the truth? It's the word, right? So your number one, of course, it's the most obvious thing to say, but your number one weapon against all of these things, all of these temptations, is to have the truth, right? And the more you go through the word and the more you apply it and the more you get it written on the table of your heart, like it says in Proverbs, which we went over the other day as well, the more you have it in your mind, the more you are girding up your mind, right? With this truth, because you have this truth in your heart, in your mind. And having the breastplate of righteousness. What was a breastplate for back in the days? It was a plate that went over their breast, right? Or their chest and stomach, right? So that they couldn't get stabbed, so they couldn't get shot with arrows. What is that breastplate? It's righteousness, right? It's righteousness. So how do we be righteous? How do we be righteous? By following the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible, right? And by believing in Yahushai, right? And by actually walking walking in the spirit, right? Let me get believe it's Salakia. I think it's Romans 8:4. It says, put on the breastplate of righteousness, right? This is Romans 8:4, that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us, right? The righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us. How can the law be fulfilled in us? How can that righteousness be fulfilled in us? By following the laws, right? But it's not just following the laws. Who walk not after the flesh, just like it said, we're not supposed to battle in the flesh, we're battling spiritually, but after the spirit, right? We need to, yes, we still need to follow the laws, of course, right, to the best of our abilities. And it's actually fulfilled in us when we don't walk after the flesh, when we're putting off these lusts and these things, and we're walking after the spirit, right? Which goes into what is it, Galatians 5, the fruits of the spirit, walking in the fruits of the spirit, but also trying to keep these laws, right? That is a breastplate to us. Let me go back to Ephesians. Stand therefore, having your loins girded about with truth, having this truth in your mind, right? And having on the breastplate of righteousness. That means walking in these laws, statutes, and commandments. That brings a big protection against you, right? Verse 5 or verse 15. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, right? So me and a few brothers were talking about this actually the other day. And it's funny because a lot of camps won't really teach, or they'll try and stay away from this, right? But there's a lot of verses. I'll just go to the one that me and the brother were talking about. 12, I believe it's 18. If it be possible, Romans 12:18. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men, right? If it be possible, some people it's impossible to be at peace with them, right? I'll give you all that. But for the most part, it's possible to just be at peace with all men. Just don't start no crap with anybody, right? Just be at peace with people. That how do they say, live and let live? Of course, you got to correct your neighbor and things like this, right? But as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men, right? There's a lot of Israelites who I won't even name names or camps or things like that, but they are not comfortable with living at peace with all men, whether it be of other nations or whether it be their own brothers, their own people in the truth, right? That are trying to follow this word, right? It says, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. This gospel is not only supposed to bring peace to us, right? But it's supposed to bring peace to anyone around us, if you think about it. Because we're supposed to be as harmless as doves, but as wise as serpents, right? You don't see a dove going around and just starting crap with everybody for no reason, right? So, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, right? So far, let me go down here. So it says, take the whole armor of the Most High, right? Having done all to stand with your loins girt with truth, right? Have this truth in your mind. Have the breastplate of righteousness, following these laws, statutes, and commandments, and walking in the spirit, right? In the fruits of the spirit. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace, right? Living at peace. There's no peace, saith Yahweh, unto the wicked, right? It says that in Isaiah. There's no peace unto the wicked. You don't have to be going and starting stuff with wicked people all the time, right? Because they're not at peace as it is. This gospel is supposed to bring you peace as well, right? Let's go to verse 16. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. Right? What are the fiery darts of the wicked? It's all these temptations, all the trials that you go through, right? When you come into this truth, right? Satan is not going to stop with all these fiery darts that are coming from these wicked people. Because remember, he moves through these wicked people, man. He moves through all of these wicked people. It's not just Satan with a pitchfork come to you and try and get you to sell your soul to him, right? He's working through the people around you. If he can't get to you directly, he's got to come through the people around you, right? So it says, above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the darts, all the fiery darts of the wicked. When you have faith, you believe that you can endure that temptation, right? You believe, like we already read, but let me go back to it again. James 1:12. You believe you're going to be blessed when you endure temptation. James 1:12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, right? If that takes faith to be able to say, look, man, I can really do this, and it will bring me so much pleasure right now. But I know I'll just be blessed if all I have to do is endure this temptation, right? All I got to do is endure this temptation, and the Most High, it's going to work out in my favor. All I got to do is follow the word. You know what, man, I could do this right now, but I know, right, in my mind, because I have my mind girded with this truth, that the Most High said, no, I can't do that. It's a sin. So I'm going to be blessed if I endure this. You know what? I'm going to choose the Most High's blessing over this temporary pleasure that I could get right now, right? Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, when he is tempted, right, he shall receive the crown of life. That's what this is all supposed to lead to, right? We're all trying to make it to the kingdom. So if you were just to stop and think, man, I have so much faith, right? Let me go back to Ephesians. I have so much faith in the Most High that I know if I just endure and I use this faith, right? I use this shield of faith, and I'm going to be able to stand against these fiery darts of the wicked. All these wicked people that are coming at me, right? I'm going to be able to withstand this, right? Then that takes true faith. And like we know in Hebrews, the 11th chapter, it says without faith, you're not going to make it, right? Hebrews chapter 11. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. And then it's going to say that by faith, by Abel's faith, by Enoch's faith, right? By Noah's faith, by Abraham's faith. This is the point. Hebrews 11:6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. To please who? To please the Most High. For he that cometh to Yahweh must believe that he is. So, of course, you got to have faith that he exists, right? That he is. But you also have to have faith that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him, right? He is going to reward you, like we read in James 1:12. He will reward you for enduring temptation. You must believe that, right? Without faith, you're not going to please him. Without faith, you're not going to make it to the kingdom, right? Without faith, you're not going to get that crown of life. So going back to Ephesians 6:16, above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, right? So now another brother, he had said, because we were talking about temptation, right? And let me go to the comments real quick, make sure there's no comments. So Tawada Danya Allah for posting these up, all the verses. But so a brother I was talking to, I asked him, because he said, you know, he was having that, when it's temptation, he has that back and forth. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Like, what do y'all think of when you're in that moment, right? I'm gonna give y'all a few seconds to think about that, and comment if you're comfortable with commenting. What do y'all think about in that moment when you're being tempted with something, right? you're in the moment of temptation, what do you think about? What do y'all think about when you're in the moment of temptation? Let me get one more verse real quick. Like in the moment of temptation, right? Most people Jomar the water arc for answering. So how I can get away with it, but what do I gain from it? So Khan, so this is kind of what the other brother said too, right? He was like, he was saying, you know what? I kind of try and I try to think about like the pros and the cons. You know what I mean? Like, well, I can get away with it, like you're saying, but man, I really want to. I shouldn't do it because I know the Most High doesn't want me to. But man, it'll give me this type of pleasure, right? And we're talking about a female in this particular case, right? But what do I gain from it? Jay Salazar, I get that devil on one shoulder and the Most High on the other feeling, right? So Khan, that's what most people get, right? I try to convince myself out of temptations. So Khan, that's what most people feel, right? That's what most people I think feel. They're like, man, I shouldn't do this, but I really want to, but I really shouldn't, but I really want to. Going back and forth, you know, that type of feeling. I think that's what most people experience, right? Because when you're already in the mindset or in the spirit of I'm just gonna do it, right? That kind of goes into Hebrews 10:26. It says when you willfully sin, there's no more sacrifice for your sins. That's like when the Most High just put out your light and you're not even thinking about if it's right or wrong, right? But going back to Jomar, so how I can get away with it, but what do I gain from it, right? So this is also something that happens to people, right? They think like, man, they're trying to compare, like, is it better for me to do it or not to do it, right? But I'm going to tell you again from experience, right? From experience that the majority of the time when you're in the flesh, right? It says the spirit indeed is willing, right? Pray that you don't enter into temptation because your spirit is willing to follow the Most High, but your flesh is weak, right? Matthew 26:41. We read it earlier. Your spirit is weak. Most of the time, if it's like, say, for example, you're in a club, or the majority of you brothers and sisters, I know you're not in a club, right? But say you're hanging out with somebody, a male or a female, and they're trying to get you to fornicate or do something against the Most High. The majority of the time, you're not gonna hold up, just wait, let me think. Should I do this or should I not? Is this gonna profit me, or can I get away with this? You know what I'm saying? Like you're not gonna go through that in your head, right? You're not gonna have time to do that because your flesh is so weak. Which is why, again, the most valuable advice I can give you, and Most High willing, some of y'all were taking notes on it, right? Sirach 21:2, flee from sin as from the face of a serpent, right? You need to realize if you're in this truth and you've been in this truth more than a few days or weeks, you know that Satan is not some red dude with a pitchfork, right? You know that there's evil spirits on people and Satan works through all these different people, and you need to flee away from people that are going to cause you to sin. Like 1 Corinthians 6:18, you need to flee from fornication, right? In Genesis, the 39th chapter, what did Joseph do? He fled away, right? He didn't even answer Potiphar's wife. He just fled away from her, right? Now, some people will say, man, but it's just in the moment, it's just so hard and I just can't. It's like my spirit is weak. And yes, I agree, your spirit is weak. But you need to realize this right here, right? This 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. All these temptations that you are going through, that you've gone through, brother, that you've gone through, sister, that I've personally gone through, that our parents and our grandparents and all of our ancestors have gone through, guess what? All of us, all of them, we have all been going through these same things, right? All these temptations that are trying to take us away from the Most High, they are common to man, right? It's a common thing, man. These are happening all the time, right? The majority of people, guess what? They give into them, right? The majority of people are just gonna fall into that, right? That's why it says in Second Ezra's the 9th chapter, it says that those that are saved is gonna be like a drop, right? It's like a wave. So like a wave compared to a drop. That wave is all those people that aren't gonna make it. That drop is the people that are not giving into temptation, right? So you need to realize that this is a common thing, man. For most of y'all, the thing you're struggling with, that you're being tempted by, it's common to you. You've been struggling with it for a while, right? It's a common thing. It's happened, and then you get away from it, and then it happens, and then you get away from it, and it happens. And it's common also to our ancestors, right? The thing that I fell into back in the days was, the main one was weed, right? Smoking all day, every day. And guess what? It was common to my whole family. It was a generational curse, like they say, right? Or a generational temptation that led to generational curses. My dad smoked weed. My uncle smoked weed. My grandpa smoked weed. All my cousins smoked weed. It was the thing, right? It was common to man, right? There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it, right? The Most High is faithful, man. So by you saying it, because there's a lot of people that say this, a lot of people will say, well, I can't fight it off. It's just too strong, right? I can't stop from doing it, right? By you saying that, you're saying that the Most High isn't faithful, right? Because it says, there hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But the Most High is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able. He's not going to give you a temptation that you can't handle, right? But will with the temptation also make a way to escape. So the problem isn't that the Most High isn't giving you a way to escape. The problem is you don't really want to escape, right? You don't want to not consent to them, like we saw in Proverbs 1 and 10, right? You want to consent to that, which is understandable. The flesh is weak, right? But it's not impossible for you to get out of that. It says, with the temptation will also make a way to escape, that ye be able to bear it. The Most High is giving you the tools that you need, or the exit that you need, so that you can bear that temptation, so that you cannot give into it, right? So I know brothers and sisters will say, look, man, it's just too hard, and it's too, I just have to give in, and this, that, and the other. The reason you feel that way is because you're not following the word. You're not fleeing from it, right? You're putting yourself in the position to be tempted in the first place, right? So let me go back to the comments. I try to convince myself out of temptations, Khan. I tell myself, man up, Jay, and I flee. So Khan, some people can do that. You know what I mean? Some people are stronger in the spirit than others are, right? Some people are already up here. They built up their faith. They built up their spirit more and more. Some people are down here, man, right? It just depends on each person, right? Like I said, the best advice is to flee before you even fall into it. But if you're already in it, you've got to build up your spirit through being in the scriptures daily, right? You got to be moving in the spirit as much as you can, right? Which me and another brother, hopefully Most High willing, this week or this weekend, are going to go over the fruits of the spirit, which is very important. And a lot of brothers don't go over, right? But being in the spirit, being in the scriptures, and also being in prayer, right? Like the first one we read, you got to pray that you enter not into temptation in the first place. I guarantee you maybe half or even more of the people on here, it says there's 12 brothers and sisters on here right now, right? I bet you at least half don't pray on a daily, consistent basis that they don't fall into temptation, right? So you're already setting yourself up for failure. And then I bet you another half are still hanging out with people or putting themselves in situations where they're going to be tempted, right? But as long as you're doing that in temptation, like during when you're falling into temptation, like, okay, I'm in the position to be tempted right now. I'm being tempted. If you're able to do this, right, tell yourself, hey, man up, man. And then you flee from that. That's a good sign, right? Because if we read this is Hebrews 10:26. For if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, right? Willfully meaning this person, hey man, you want to smoke this rock? Yeah, let's do this. Boom, right? Or a female or man comes up to you, hey, you want to come and sleep with me? And this, of course, I'm not going to say it like that, right? But you get what I'm trying to say. And you just, boom, yeah, let's do it, right? When you're living like that, there's going to come a point in time where the Most High is going to say there's no more sacrifice for sins, right? And I gave this example the other day, but I'll just give it again real quick, just because maybe some of y'all weren't on the live, right? The Most High sent his son to die for you, okay? Giving the worldly example. Let's say I send my son, Noah, to die for you. You come to me and I'm a judge in Texas, and you say I murdered, blah, 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 and I'm supposed to put you to death by the death, according to the death penalty, right? And I say, you know what? I'm going to let you go. I'm going to give you another chance. Noah, you're going to die for them. Of course, I wouldn't do that, right? But the Most High's love is above our understanding. So I let my son die for you. And then a week later, you come back in front of me. And you're like, please forgive me. I did this and that and blah, blah, blah. Broke this law, that law. I say, you know what, man? Let my son die for you. But okay, I'm going to do it again. You can go, right? Don't come back. And then next week you come back and you ask for forgiveness. I let you go. And next week you come back and ask for forgiveness. And you're just to the point where you're just willfully doing these things, right? So you knew that my son died for you, and you're just stomping all over his sacrifice. That's exactly how it is with the Most High, right? If you read Hebrews the 6th chapter, verses 4-6, it says the same thing. It says you're trotting underfoot the Son of the Most High. So when you start sinning willfully, right, there's going to come a point in time where there's not going to be no more sacrifice for your sins. You're seeing these temptations and you're just like, you know what? I'm going to give into it. I want to do this and that's it. Right? So you got to realize that when you're in that temptation, man, you really, really, really got to think about what you're about to do. Right? And one thing that you could do as well, now that I think about it, think about what your punishment is going to be. Right? Think about the day of wrath. Think about Isaiah 66 and 15 and 16 when Yahushua comes back, right? And the slain of the Lord will be many. You don't want to be one of those slain of the Lord, right? Think of the day of wrath. Think about Jacob's trouble. Think about all the things that are happening right now, right? People are dying from getting the vaccine, man, right? People are dying. People are getting killed by the police. Why is that happening? Read Deuteronomy 28. They're cursed. They're sinning against the Most High, right? People's children, man. A brother had posted the other day that I just saw. People's children are dying from getting the vaccine. Why are children dying from getting the vaccine? Because their parents are wicked, right? Because they are cursed, right? When you read Wisdom of Solomon, the 3rd chapter, it'll tell you cursed children, right? When a man and his wife are wicked and their children are cursed, right? Think of all these things when you're about to fall into temptation, right? Don't just give in to that temptation. If you could pull up Sirach 4:29. Sirach 4:29. We'll probably finish with that. Hold on, let me see. Let Sirach 4 and 29. Because I know when you're about to sin, right? When you're about to sin, this happens all the time. Okay, Khan. So you pulled up so this is Isaiah 66 and 16, right? And if you could also pull up Ephesians 4 and 26, the water. Ephesians 4 and 26. So the brother, I mentioned this, right? And the brother pulled it up. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord will be many, right? The slain of the Lord will be many. You don't want to think about this verse, trying to memorize this verse. Try and memorize any verse that is going to put you in the fear of the Most High, right? Because that's what you need to be thinking about if you're about to fall into temptation, right? So this is Sirach 4 and 29. Be not hasty in thy tongue, and in thy deeds slack and remiss, right? Like I was mentioning earlier, when the brother said when he's being tempted, like he thinks about it, man, well, how is this going to profit me? I know I shouldn't do this, but I could get away with it, right? A lot of times when you're by yourself, it's you have time to think like that, right? But when you're around other people and they tempt you to do things, normally it's a hasty reaction, right? It's just like, all right, I'm gonna do this. They want me to, all right, let's do this, right? And that goes back to this verse: be not hasty in thy tongue and in thy deeds, right? Your deed is just, all right, I'm gonna run with this. They're doing it, I'm gonna do it, right? And in thy deeds slack and remiss. You're being too slack with your actions. You're being too slack with your temptations. You need to stop and think about it, right? Or you need to, the best advice, flee from it, right? Flee from it altogether. So be not hasty in thy tongue and in thy deeds slack and remiss, because you're gonna miss the target, right? I got a little let me see if I could show you real quick. Got a dartboard right there, right? If you miss the target, right? If you miss the target, you're not hitting where you wanted to hit, right? Everybody's target should be the kingdom, right? If you're being hasty in the things that you say and in the things that you do, you are going to miss your target, and you are not going to make it to the kingdom by giving into all of these temptations, right? Okay, so I got a couple other precepts here. Kingdom Minded 144. I'll read those right after this one. So Ephesians 4 and 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Right? That seems so simple. Don't be angry and sin. Right? That seems so simple. But think about it this way. A lot of times you get mad and that causes you to sin. Right? I know multiple sisters that this happened to, and they've told me personally, right? They get mad. Well, I won't even say sisters, because some of them aren't sisters, right? Females. Let's say females. They get mad at the dude that they're with, and they go out and cheat on them, right? Be ye angry and sin not. You are allowing your anger to cause you to sin, right? Another example is, say a brother does something against you, say he steals from you, or he says something about you that wasn't true, or a sister says something about you, you found out she's tailbearing, which is a sin according to Leviticus 19, right? And what do? You get angry and you start talking crap about them too. Or you get angry and you want to go beat that man, right? You want to go fight him. Or you get angry and you want to go steal back something, right? Or you want to hold a grudge, or you want to be hateful towards them, right? Anger will many times lead you to sin, right? And just because somebody sinned against you, you cannot let that make you fall into sin as well, right? The word says, don't add sin to sin, right? Which that could mean like don't smoke weed and then go get with this chick and then go do this, but it can also mean don't let somebody else's sin lead you into sin, right? Don't add, just because someone else sins and you get angry, don't let that make you sin as well, right? Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. So this brother Kingdom Minded 144K, this is Psalm 19 and 13. Keep back thy servants also from presumptuous sins. Khan. Let them not have dominion over me. So this is a prayer, right? This is a prayer. And this man, I believe it's David that wrote this. He's saying, keep back your servant. Keep me back from these sins, right? Don't let them have dominion over me. Then shall I be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression, right? So let me share my screen one more time. Or you know what? Ak, if you could pull up what is it? Matthew 17 and 21. Matthew 17 and 21. So this is something to pray about as well, right? Keep back thy servant also from presumptuous sins. Let them not have dominion over me. Don't let these sins and these temptations take me over, right? Then shall I be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression. Psalm 19 and 14. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Khan, that's a beautiful one. Let the words of my mouth, how many of you pray that the words of your mouth be acceptable to the Most High, right? Every time when I'm going to do a lesson or something like that, whether it be on here or with my family or whoever it may be, and I'm praying all throughout the day, right? I always pray to the Most High before doing a lesson. Just let my words be true, right? Let it be lined up with your word. Don't make me be a liar in the sight of men, right? So let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart, even your mind, right? Asking your mind to be right, be acceptable in thy sight, O Yahweh, my strength and my redeemer, right? That's a beautiful one. I might have to put that on a canvas or something. Another fasting and praying, studying helped me to overcome this lust addiction I had. Khan, that's beautiful. And through the Spirit, check this out. This is the verse I just asked the brother to pull up. Matthew 17 and 21. Howbeit this spirit, or this kind, right? It's talking about spirits. If you read it in context, this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting, right? Spirits go out by praying and by fasting. And what did this brother just say? Fasting and praying and studying helped me to overcome this lust addiction I had, right? So now a lot of people say addiction, and I'm not going to disagree with that. It is an addiction, right? But you have to understand that that is, especially lust, man, that's a demon, that's a spirit. And in order to get it off of you, just like the brother said, and just like it says in Matthew 17 and 21, you got to fast that spirit out, man. You got to pray to the Most High, right? Like it said right here in Psalm 19 and 13, keep back thy servant from presumptuous sins. Let them not have dominion over me. You got to pray that these spirits and these addictions, right, which are really spirits, can't get a hold on you, man. Don't have dominion. Dominion means power, right? That they don't have that power over you. So like the brother said, fasting and praying, studying, of course studying, right? Because we got to get that daily bread, right? And I always tell people this, like, there's certain brothers and used to be a sister that I would check up on daily. I'll be like, hey, did you study today? What did you study? What did you learn? Things like this, right? And oh man, well, I didn't get the chance to study today. Well, did you eat today? Right? Did you eat today? Of course they're going to say yes. Did you drink water today? Yes. Or did you drink, right? Some people don't even drink water. Did you eat bread and did you drink water today? Khan, yeah, I did. Okay, well, but you didn't eat the bread of life, right? You didn't drink of the living waters, which is the word, right? You're never going to forget to eat and drink. So how is it that you're going to forget the Most High and forget to study, right? So studying, of course, it's key, man. It's key, right? Like it says in Joshua 1 and 8, and like it says in Psalm, I believe it's 1 and 3, or 1 and 4, I believe it's 1 and 3. You have to meditate in this day and night, because guess what? Satan is going to be coming at you day and night, right? And that's one of, like it said in Ephesians, the 6th chapter, right? It says you have to have your loins girt about with truth. What is the truth? It's the word, right? You have to have the breastplate of righteousness. How are you going to have truth and how are you going to have righteousness if you're not even studying to know what the truth and what righteousness is in the first place, right? So let me read this one more time. Matthew 17:21. Howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting, praying all the time that before, so that you won't be led into temptation, and then praying during. If you're being tempted, start praying to the Most High, right? Why not do that? And then afterwards, pray some more, right? If you're still feeling that like a lustful spirit, that's a big one amongst Israel, right? Amongst men especially, but among sisters too. You'd be surprised. That lust spirit is a heavy one. You gotta pray and fast it away, right? And not just fasting as in food, right? Think about it this way. Like I told a few brothers, and I know two of them that, I mean, aren't in the truth, aren't following the Sabbath no more, aren't really in the truth anymore. I told them, they came to me, I'm struggling with lust, I'm struggling with porn, right? And I told them, look, this is how you need to fast from it, right? Not just fast physically, okay, I'm not going to eat or drink for a day, or I'm just going to drink water for 2 days, whatever it is. You need to fast from pornography, right? Oh, wow, but it's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. It's on my phone, it's on the computer, it's everywhere, right? Well, if you really want to get that spirit off of you, this is what I told the brothers, right? Both of them, and neither one of them took my advice. You need to, first of all, get a block on your phone so you can't look up pornography, right? Actually, one of the brothers did it for a few days, but he found a way around the lock on his phone, right? So you got to put a block on your phone, number one, and on your computer, right? So you can't get on websites like that. Number two, you need to get off of social media, right? And I saw someone posted it right now, Lou Swish, right? Social media fast, man. You cannot be fasting from lasciviousness, right? From females that are dressing in a sexually provocative way. You cannot fast from that and still be on social media, right? The other day, I won't even say his name, even though I know he's on here. I was talking to a brother the other day, and he said, man, even like sometimes I'll see something on social media that I shouldn't have seen, and I feel bad about it, you know? And I was telling them, look, it's going to happen, right? If you see something, you got to swipe right off of that right away. You know what I'm saying? And this is what brothers don't understand. They want to have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. If you know that social media is causing you to lust, then you need to fast from it until you're able to handle it in the spirit, right? Because like I was telling the brother, I'm not sure on your first name, Ak, but Jay Salazar, right? You have to build yourself up in that spirit. Some men and even women aren't strong enough yet to deal with that, to see a certain thing and then just be like, you know what, I can't look at that, right? And like I was telling another brother the other day, I remember when I was first in the truth, and it was like, you know what, I'm out, whether it be at the mall or whether it be I'm working or whatever it is, and there's a good looking female, right? And what's every man that's in the world, the first thing he's gonna do is he's gonna look her up and down, right? He's gonna look at everything she's got, right? Then after some time, I started building myself up in the spirit. I came up with this little I don't know how you would say it in English, like a mania. In Spanish, it's called a mania, like a trick, I guess you would say, right? So I would stare at a woman's face, right? I would be like, I'm not gonna look at her body. So if I see a pretty woman, I'm just gonna look at her face, and then all right, I looked away, right? Kind of building myself up in the spirit, right? Then after a while, I was like, all right, when I'm talking to a female, at least I'm gonna look at the ugliest part about her. And I know this may sound horrible to some of y'all, right? But I'll be looking at her and I'll be like, man, she got some ugly ears, right? Or I'll be like, man, she got an ugly nose, and I'll stare at it. You know what I mean? Just so I would, trying to fight off that lustful spirit, right? And now I'm to the point where I could just be like say I hear something or something over there, and I just look, and I can just look away from it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's a lascivious or just a woman that's all out there. You know what I mean? Short shorts, boobs out, showing legs, butt cheeks, whatever it is, right? That does not that doesn't affect me like it would before, because now I've girded up my mind with this truth, right? And now that's disgusting to me. Sometimes, I'm not even gonna lie, sometimes there's sisters that are in the truth, right? I get a lot of people that follow me on a daily basis, and if I'm on lunch or I'm I have some time and I'll be looking through and I'm like, okay, this person, man, who is this that followed me? Click on it and I won't even click on their pictures, right? But I see like they're dressing lascivious, and man, I'm not even lying. The Most High is my witness. Some of the females that claim to be in the truth, man, they disgust me, bro. They're nasty. Like, how can you claim to be in the truth? Why are you gonna have a head wrap on, but then you have your breasts all popping out in all your pictures, right? Why are you gonna have a head wrap on or have Proverbs 31 woman in your bio, but then you're taking pictures from behind, right? And then you get mad when men only want you for your behind. You know what I'm saying? A brother, I can't remember which brother, some brother posted the other day, he said women take pictures with their ass first, and then Salaki for the language, but women take pictures with their ass first and then get mad at men when they want the ass first. You know what I mean? Like, it's so hypocritical, man. But going back to my point, that you have to build yourself up in the spirit, right? And I know there's some brothers that maybe aren't there yet, but I'm sure there's some brothers that can attest to what I'm saying, that once you get really in the spirit, like, you don't even want to deal with these women that are dressing lascivious and that are letting, why are you going to want a woman that shows everything, shows her whole body to any man that gets on her social media? Like, why would you want a woman like that, right? That's why it goes back to Titus 2, where it says you're supposed to be discreet, right? I wouldn't even deal with a woman that's showing all her body like that, right? But the point of it all is temptation. We're all at different levels in this thing, right? We're all at different weight levels, to put it in a more worldly perspective, right? If me and the brother DC 97 and I'm pretty sure your brother, the brother Kingdom Minded 144K, the brother Jay Salazar, if Jomar, right? All the brothers, if y'all all came down to South Texas, right? And I said, hey man, let's go outside. I got a little gym and stuff. We're gonna hit the bag. We're gonna lift some weights. We would all lift weights at different levels, right? We're not all gonna be on the same level. And it's the same thing in this walk and dealing with temptations. We're all at different levels, right? Some people can fight it off better than others. Some people can't fight it off as easily, right? But the main thing that I want you to get out of all of this, because it applies to everybody at any level that you're at, right? The easiest way of dealing with temptation is praying about it, right? Before it happens, praying about it, right? That's the easiest thing. Like it said in Matthew 26:41, pray that you enter not into temptation. Matthew, the 6th chapter, I believe it was 9 through 12 or 13, right? The Adawan Palau, the Lord's Prayer. Yahushua said, pray again, pray that you don't enter into temptation, right? Another way besides praying, right, is, like I said, you're going to have that you need to have that flight response, right? You need to flee from sin, flee from fornication. Because when you want to just dabble in it, oh, I'll just do it one more time, or I can be around these people because I'm stronger in the spirit. No, that's a slippery slope, man. And I know that sounds cliche, but that's a slippery slope. Once you start slipping, you're going to fall all the way down, right? So flee from sins as from the face of a serpent. Sirach 21:2, right? Flee from fornication. 1 Corinthians 6:18. Genesis, the 39th chapter, what did Joseph do? He fled from Potiphar's wife, right, when she wanted to sleep with him, right? Proverbs 1:10, if sinners entice you, consent not to them, right? Don't do it. Don't give into it, right? You have to flee from these people. Stay away from the people and the situations where you know you're going to be put into temptation. And then if you are put into temptation, you need to remember Ephesians 6 and put on the whole armor of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, right? So let me go to the comments real quick. So yeah, it looks like there's no more comments. So with that, I'll be on here tomorrow again. I'll let y'all know through Instagram. So with that, I give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So shalom and barakatah to all you brothers and sisters that are trying to live out this truth in sincerity and in humility, right? Shalom.